in there, but I still absolutely love what currently, particularly Kanavi and Yagao are bringing to the roster. Ruler's looked like he's had some fantastic games recently too, particularly his last Ezreal performance was absolutely absurd, so we're going to go jump straight into it to catch up to the action here between NIP and JDG. It's fair to say NIP probably coming in as underdogs, but it is going to be a fun one all the same. See if they can punch up the table.
Well, we've got some very happy music to enter the ring with. I'm suddenly jolly as we get on to Summoner's Room for game one between NIP and JDG here.
I feel like we should be watching an episode of Scrubs or something at this point.
It's the LPL fan meet music. That's the music that they play when after a series the players walk onto the stage and get to meet some fans and all of that good stuff. So let's look at the draft for NIP JDG. Game number one here. Some real power picks on the side of NIP. Honestly, I feel like they've got the more S-tier picks from the patch. However, JDG certainly got a good combo going with a Gnar and a Rel and a Lilia. That's a lot of circles. And
it does feel like JDG have a good amount of laning strength too. Sheer should be winning out against Shanji in regards to the Gnar versus the Cassante. This is a bit of an issue when it comes to NIP. We'll see if JDG do anything fun at this level 1. Looks like it's just a ward dropped and out. But NIP, my big issue with NIP is the fact that their players need specific champions, and right now those champions are quite abusable, and they're not always the best in meta. And typically, I don't like to see Aki on the AP junglers. We'll hold our breath, see if there's a level 1. Not quite, just about. Photic typically wants non-traditional AD carries. I don't know whether the Kai'Sa falls onto that. And Shanji needs his comfort champions realistically, like the Cassante and the Rumble too. Drafting something around these specific moments, these specific picks, can be quite difficult for the team. So even though I don't mind the team composition, is it an NIP team composition? That's yet to be seen.
We'll have to find out. Ruler are missing though. And Ruler especially here. On a signature pick of the split, he has had some obscene Ezreal performances over the last, literally over the last week, to be honest. I feel like he, Viper was having some crazy Ezreal moments over in the LCK, and we saw Jackie Love and Ruler really take that to heart and start to pop off themselves. Missing takes a huge chunk there. Shield will save his life, and the flash actually from Zhuo, perhaps a little over the top.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Trying to get some presence back in this laning phase, of course. Yeah, talking about Ruler and the Ezreal, quick little anecdote about that. So there is an Ezreal skin for the year that he won Worlds. It's not his skin. His is the Xayah, obviously. The Ezreal skin, which came with the Samsung Galaxy, was Haru playing Ezreal jungle. For those of you that missed that era, it was a whole thing. Ezreal would go further a battle and he just hit camps and stack it up with that. He was a really annoying gank champion at that point. But yeah, that was the kind of era where Ezreal was just eponymous with Pro League of Legends and Ruler was one of the best at it.
Some big damage onto Photic. Another Q lands as well. And they dive on in. Flashes from JDG's bot lane. Sets up for a solo, duo kill? Do we have a
duo kill. We'll call it that one. 2v2 kill. We'll call it that one. Ruler ends up getting that one, and that's after the cleanse was used from Photic. Photic already being exposed here. As someone who's not had the best split here for NIP, particularly on stuff like the Kai'Sa, you do want to be ahead of the game, and despite that, Rookie getting jumps on.
Yagao trading heavily with Rookie. Flash for flash between Aki and Yagao. Everyone walks away with their lives, but Rookie now flash advantage in the mid lane.
Yeah, so Rookie getting himself something there in the individual matchups. Typically, the Lucian does better in that one, but Ruler jumps forward, gets his E on target because the W allows you to redirect that one, gets another Q. The Ignite goes down, but it's cleansed and it still kills with the auto. Anyway, Ruler already had to press the attack, had the extra damage down. I don't know whether Photic thought that the last auto wouldn't kill, but it obviously did. Ruler gets himself ahead of the game.
Ruler with the W flash auto as well to instantly proc that W as it hits. Fantastic bit of play coming out from him. And would have had a follow-up Q available shortly to try and finish the job. Really, really nice 2v2 down in the bottom side from JDG. Great start to the game. And we talked about Ruler Ezreal. He's already got a kill.
For a second, I thought he said he would have had a follow-up auto too if it weren't for you meddling kids. Of course, he gets the kill anyway, but that doesn't really apply to that. Scrappy D ruined that show. Anyway, on to better things. Ruler gets himself that tier spike very, very early. Or not tier spike, the tier back in very early. and this is great. If you're as Ezreal, buying the tier where the enemy AD carry doesn't get to abuse that trough in power, you feel so much better about life. Photic goes for the cull. He's also looking to, I guess, scale up a little bit with that one. He's going down towards bot side as well now, but Ruler very happy with his combat stats as it stands.
So far, so good for JDG. And I will say, Lilia versus Brand, you expect once those level 6s are hit, some big fights are potentially on the cards. First Drake going to be coming up is a Hextech Drake. Chemtech Drake. I don't know. Do you know, it's been quite a long day. We've had some crazy games. My brain has apparently just turned to a puddle of mush at this point as Yagao, his brain hasn't, and Rookie's going to go down. No! Flashes at the last second. That flash advantage from the earlier gank saves Rookie's life.
Yagao very nearly gets himself that solo kill. The Lucian mid, in particular, into the Corki is utterly destructive. And Rookie, even though you know, he's one of the best mid laners in the LPL, is not immune to the matchup in regards to at least that kind of power spike at the level 6 coming through from the Lucian. NIP, they put a lot of resources in to try and keep Rookie afloat there in the mid lane by bringing Aki over and investing Aki's flash into the mid lane. It's not paying off right now. Kanavi instead gets to go towards these grubs, and NIP in this early game losing out through that bot lane, not getting a huge advantage through mid lane even with the resources put in, and giving over the grubs is not a great sign for them. JDG getting ahead of the game, also being able to go down towards bot side river now as well and contest for both the early game objectives, not just the grubs. They can potentially get the dragon too.
A wave missed in the mid lane for Rookie as well. There was no cannon there. Aki caught by the swirl seed, and Kanavi has level 6. The lilting lullaby lands on down, and everybody dives into the mix. Aki burning on the ignite with the dot on top, missing to finish the job, and now the chase can continue. Is missing, takes a chunk from Photic, but Ruler was ready to jump on into the mix.
Yeah, that's just wait, folks, we have like ourselves two of the riders of the apocalypse here. We've got the Rel and the Lily. I was about to say that's not just any pony down there in the bot lane. That's a warhorse. It's missing us a huge amount of damage in the combo and is still going forwards.
Oh, Zhuo takes a massive chunk from the True Shot Barrage. A 2-level advantage for Ruler over Zhuo. Swirl Seed. If that had hit onto Photic, could have been dangerous, but Rookie is moving down, wants to influence the map elsewhere. Missing, low on HP, one more auto, gets Photic a kill, but Ruler gets his chance to turn things around. Rookie still going strong here and has a level lead. Ruler forced away.
Is Rookie going to lose anything in mid lane though? There's going to be a wave pushed in there. Can Yagao get himself a wave that could even things up to an extent? Rookie's still hanging around bot side. He has a big one.
That's going to be Ruler under tower, 200 HP. The Void Seeker lands, and Zhuo will be able to stun this up. Ruler goes down. Rookie takes a kill there. Photic got one in the fight as well, and NIP even this game up.
Okay, Rookie comes to save the day. We've seen that so many times from NIP. I think Rookie's had some weaker series recently, but here on the early roams on the Corki, he plays in the way that we know NIP need him to. He plays like a second jungler. He's the one that goes to even out lanes. Even if Aki isn't there, he goes to a side of the map through Fog of War in a way that you don't expect him to. Right here, gets himself out of mid lane very early. He's not spotted on the way down towards mid lane and gets himself a huge AoE combo with all of his abilities coming through. Manages to stick around for his last big one coming through as well. And considering how much Ruler have been doing in this early laning phase alongside missing, this was very, very needed. If this laning phase had gone on much longer in bot lane, you have to feel that Photic and Zhuo would have been blown out, especially with the amount of gold being picked up by Ruler.
Really nice from Rookie, and it evens up the CS deficit in that mid lane. Obviously missed another wave as Yagao was in the mid lane, crashing minions, and 2 plates went the way of Yagao as well. All out, doesn't quite find the gap onto the wall, so Shanji cannot find his opportunity onto Sheer.
Sheer should be able to get away. There's a ghost pop by Shanji Q3.
Oh, hang on, Sheer's in big trouble here. Flash available for him, does not need to use it, will keep himself alive. No TP though, so maybe we'll lose some minions for this one, but overall, lucky that he was, well, I guess skillful that he wasn't that close to the wall, so the all out doesn't come through.
Yeah.
Or does it pull him?
Champions like Cassante and Poppy, they do challenge your accepted vision of the game. You don't want to stand next to that wall, even if it means getting further away from the enemy champion. Sometimes you run into them, just to make sure you don't get carried over the wall by Cassante or wall stunned by Poppy or something like that. So Sheer walks away, doesn't have to blow that flash, does lose himself a wave towards the turret. He can't teleport up to that lane. Shirko starting over Flandre in the majority of games recently. His individual laning prowess, one of the big reasons why JDG have been going towards this younger player in the top lane on a decent amount of their series. And I have to say, I wasn't convinced when they picked up Sheer when they had Flandre in the back pocket, considering Flandre is still one of the most veteran top laners in the LPL and has a good level of skill even after all these years, and a year away as well. He took a little bit of break after that Worlds winning year on EDG. Yagao jumping into Zhuo.
A bold trade from Yagao and flashes into the wall. Oh, you don't want to see that, do you? Yagao just completely fumbles it, let's be honest. NIP now will grab those grubs, basically uncontested, missing. Wants to call me a liar. I don't really see the angle that he's looking for right now. I'm not sure that's something anyone else is going to follow up on. But just wanting to contest enough as Shanji gets a bit of time with a tower in the bottom lane.
Not really sure what Yagao was doing there, but that's okay. It is far beyond me to try and peer into the mind of the Yagao himself. JDG, they lose themselves those grubs, they lose themselves some gold over to Shanji as well, which is important. We know exactly what K'Sante can do, courtesy of that last game which came through from ZDC just before this. If you missed that series just before this, absolutely go back and watch it. It was an incredible one. See if this one can match it between these two teams with a hell of a lot of pedigree on them. Shanji is now on the weak side of the map. Not easy to do anything against it. K'Sante is full HP on the turret though, so it's just going to be a camp steal by Kanavi and just a little bit of harass, maybe trying to force Shanji to drop some minions to the tower.
Nice bit of play from Kanavi to grab the Krugs and the Raptors there off the back of all of that was happening. And Ruler actually gets another play in the mid lane. Ruler is picking up quite a lot of gold, but actually still even with Photic, surprisingly. I guess Photic must have grabbed some plates somewhere, as he does grab one on that top side. Yeah. And honestly, very, very even game state right now. Remember, NIP, a team that they are 0-4 in the standings at the start of this series. JDG have been contending with top teams right now. They have been proving themselves as one of the top teams of the LPL. JDG should be a big favorite coming into this series, with recency included. We'll see if NIP can upset that story. And right now in this early game, it does feel like they're going toe-to-toe.
Going toe-to-toe, but is that going to last towards the first big fight of this game? That's the answer, because when you look at the people that need to do damage from NIP, yes, of course, there's Rookie. There's also Aki, who has not necessarily been a connoisseur of the AP junglers like the rest of the LPL has, so that is a point of concern. And then also Photic, who does have the most gold in the game as it stands, but he's not always been the best at the more traditional low-range AD carry positioning. He's been better on stuff like the Ezreal, better on stuff like the Ziggs, and stuff like that. So can these two go against what we've kind of come to accept of these players in summer so far? They have the position to do so. They will have to prove their own track record recently wrong.
See if it can be the moment for these players on NIP. NIP so far this year, I think the biggest question I have for them is not necessarily just individuals' performances. It's more like, when it comes to the mid-game, is the entire map just going to fall to pieces from one daft play? I feel like some of the macro decisions we have seen from NIP this split have really been head-scratchers. There's a lot to be desired when it comes to how NIP plays the map out, and a lot of the positive plays we've seen them are more like them reacting to a mistake from their opponent as opposed to them initiating a really positive play. JDG, on the other hand, a little bit more trustworthy with their macro, so could be a difficult matchup in that regard when it does get into the mid-game. And we are getting rapidly closer to that mid-game point where these big neutrals will be potential targets for a fight. I'm a little bit nervous here because Shanji has found Yagao from behind here. Perhaps a chance onto the Lucian. No flash available for Yagao, and the reinforcements are on their way for NIP. Shanji jumped a bit for Yagao, even with fancy footwork. Can't survive a 1v3, and Aki will grab that kill.
That's a nice amount of gold going over towards your brand. Is there a cross map from JDG? They have Sheer and bot lane, but there's a teleport back out onto the map from either solo lane from NIP, so that's unlikely to lead towards anything. The Herald's going over to NIP, so the answer is no. Nothing that JDG have got to answer on the map right now. They're farming up lanes, but that's about it. NIP get themselves a clean kill, and, you know, kind of harking back to that point you were saying just before that, NIP, what's going to happen? Are they just going to make that one silly play where the map falls apart? Feels like NIP sometimes stands for ninjas in puzzles. Maybe make a Professor Layton aim out of that or something as they try and puzzle out their macro, it has often been a sticking point.
Honestly, it feels like ninjas in pieces after a lot of these macro plays, but so far so good. I feel a bit mean now that we are slating NIP so much off of the back of them actually making some positive plays, being 2k up. Maybe we'll return to this one later on once they throw. But I mean, I joke, but honestly, that has been the way it feels for this team. And it's disappointing to see because we've seen fantastic stuff from the players on this roster. We've seen fantastic stuff from Shanji, from Aki back on OMG. You know, Rookie, we all know. Photic and Zhuo, especially in spring, looked a lot better, but unfortunately, they've not been able to make it stick. Great play from Shanji, just lets Yagao walk straight past him, and then Aki and Zhuo move in.
Yeah, basically plays a mind game with JDG where JDG think that Shanji is backed at the same time as Sheer, because Sheer is switching towards the bot lane, and he just stays there. So a good mind game from him to kind of like play on JDG's better instincts. So we'll say JDG, they're pretty happy to play out slower, more structured mid games unless Kanavi is exploding the early game. Now, he has exploded a lot of early games, so that's not always like the killer blow for JDG. But if you manage to upset them before they get into that rhythm in mid game, there are some things you can do against JDG. Of course, they lost to Weibo, I believe, in the Ascension group already. They are not an infallible team. They have some things to prove themselves, to prove that they can go beyond just a top 3 finish. They were the 3-peat champions. They failed to make that into a 4-peat. They'd love to go beyond that again. NIP look for the engage, can't quite find it. Herald in the mid lane, trying to blow it from the map.
See if they can blow things up. Herald goes in. It's just going to be half the tower here. 2 Drakes to start off with JDG. 3 grubs apiece. We're fairly even in this one. Minor gold lead for NIP. The Sheer, pressed upon by Rookie, but now a TP comes through from Yagao. Culling, but the minion wave blocks it. That's awkward. That is awkward, isn't it? And then the minion wave blocks the Q from Sheer as well. Oh no! They've been hard countered by 6 minions and a whole load of determination.
Yeah, you know, it's not quite the Nirvana group anymore, but there is something in the way, all the same. That's a song by Nirvana, by the way, for those of you who don't know Nirvana songs.
See, the joke stops being funny when you immediately explain it.
Look, I have this, like, insecurity that I'm going to say something about a band which I really love, because Nirvana are one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm going to be sat there and just be like, what are you talking about? I need to be understood, Munch, occasionally. I know, it's sad, but I need to be.
See, I didn't know that that was a Nirvana song, but I guess that was a Nirvana song based on the pun, right? Like, based on the way that you said it, it was clear it was a joke. I think you got to have more confidence in yourself. And also,
I'll work
it's
on
one
that,
of those
boss.
things. It's one of those things where, like, when you make a niche joke about like a song name or something like that, you've got to just leave it, and then one random guy on Twitter will say like, "Oh, great little reference to that," and that's all you need from that. You know,
that's what we live for.
You're not going
yeah,
for the wide appeal with that kind of joke.
Folks, doesn't matter if it's us or someone else. Send that, that tweet, which will only be seen by 2 people, which is yourself and the person you're tagging. Send that to the cast as like, that was a good reference. It means a lot to us on some days, folks, when it's like, we're 9 games. Sometimes we get 9 games in here at the LPL, just that like, I'm just going to throw out references because my brain's struggling to do anything else right now. The amount of action that we've had here in the LPL, of course, it's always very, very high. But when we have these 3 series days, particularly with like the series we had just beforehand, it does start to really tax you as you go forwards in the day. And this one's been a slower one. That doesn't mean we're not going to get those big team fights later. Both of these teams, I think, are pretty well geared up to go towards the big 5v5s later on. Looking at Kanavi with Flash and that all. He can very much be a game changer. Similar kind of things for, the huge engage plus follow-up from NIP. If they get a good solar flare with Pyroclasm and then the Corki and the Kai'Sa following up.
I'm certainly excited for the prospect of big turbo fights. I'm not seeing the opportunity.
Is that what they're called now?
Right.
Turbo fights?
Yeah. All of the cool kids are calling them turbo fights.
Right. Oh yeah, you and your young soul as opposed to my
exactly.
My old dad
it's all about the hip, apparently. That's the bone of choice when it comes to being cool. 1 minute until Drake comes up. 2 so far for JDG, and missing is just disallowed entry into the jungle, but Rookie might have overstepped for it. He's put to sleep with a lilting lullaby culling over the wall from Yagao. As the tower goes down, Photic steps forward. Aggression from the side of NIP. They fight for river control just as the Drake is coming up, but still 35 seconds. I don't know if they can stick around.
Rookie is really trying to be the game-determining factor, but he blows his flash. That's not going to help him to make a play in the next few minutes. does force JDG back away from the river. That potentially does stop JDG getting a good angle towards that soul, as you were saying just before this point. There's also some decent vision from NIP into the enemy jungle of JDG. I don't really think they want to be flank teleporting with the Cassante. He wants to be kind of stood there in the middle of the play. Now, JDG, as they go back towards this bottom river now, are they going to go for a mid lane push, or are they going to look towards contesting this dragon? The mid lanes are already being down, means that it's less valuable for JDG. They're trying to get this pro as it stands right now.
NIP maintain their control at the bottom side of the map with Drake spawning. This is important to deny soul point from JDG, and it looks like JDG are just going to respect the control that NIP have on that bottom side. Not going to try and contest with the Drake. Maybe Ruler pops out a True Shot Barrage. We'll go for it. Just a hair too early.
So, Baron has spawned. JDG do get themselves some topside vision control. NIP don't have that much in that area of the map, so NIP do need to be a little afraid of that one. NIP slightly ahead in gold, but none of that matters if you give up good positioning on that Baron. JDG, they still have that flash. Ruler's caught out in mid lane, but he'll eat to safety. Takes off his HP before that, though.
Will still survive and just blast it underneath this tower here. I think Photic can finish the job, so a tier 2 taken by NIP. Nice little punish from them. After I've been criticizing their mid-game macro, they grabbed themselves a Drake, they grabbed themselves a tier 2 in the mid lane as well. Very nice little sequence.
Yeah, there's still time for that one oopsie to happen at some point. We'll hang on and wait for that. But as it stands, you know, NIP, they haven't looked like their usual selves for a little while at this point. What we knew from Spring is that Rookie would play around Fog of War, he'd be a second jungler, and he'd try and make some jump scare plays onto the enemy team with some big bursts. In Spring, he was doing that on stuff like the Talia and the Ahri, which could either combo you from out of Fog of War or be very mobile on the map. On stuff like the Corki, he has had some moments like that. They've been less consistent. With this Corki now at the 2-item spike, need to see if he can get himself onto the board in a meaningful way. He did that in the bot lane earlier on into the game. I think that you need to do that another 1 or 2 times to maybe open up a Baron opportunity, and then I think NIP will be all rolling. So JDG, on the other side of that, need to be prepared for that. Don't go too close to the dark and dangerous Fog of War. There might be a Rookie in there.
It's kind of funny, isn't it, the stark contrast between the previous series and this one.
Yes.
This is much more controlled, sort of standard gameplay coming out from either team. And I think, especially for NIP, this is such an important series. Remember, they only get 7 series in this group. If they, oh, sorry, no, I think they get 8 series in this group.
They get 8. There are 9 teams in this group, yeah.
However, they are looking towards a negative scoreline. They're already 0-4.
Yep.
If they don't win all 4 of their remaining series, they're looking towards being negative. However, they only need to be top 7 to still make it to playoffs. It's still like seeding. It's still like to look good going into playoffs. It's still like to feel like you've got a chance when we get to those best of 5s. Now an invade from NIP's True Shot Barrage, just going to tag onto Aki. Cullen comes through as well. It's quite a lot invested for JDG, as Missing just strolls forward. Fancy's taking a bit of damage, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have Warmogs from either support yet, so it's not like you can do that for free. So things are really slowing down. Now, for those of you who are more familiar with JDG of previous years, as Zhuo might look for the ult, was cancelled that. Shanji coming in with the Ghost.
Captain Jack cleanse from Ruler there, forced to flash into the Wolf Pit, and this is an all-out engage coming out from NIP, but it's a trade. 1-for-1, both supports down. Kanavi finds the triple sleep, and here comes the follow-up from JDG. He turns golden, buys himself time. Sheer has entered the play, but he's only a mini-nar. Shanji gets onto the backside, and Sheer stacking that rage bar doesn't even need it. That's the killer. Shanji on the backside finds 2, evens things up, but Sheer looks for his opposite man. A rock hits, but a TP out to safety from Shanji.
Shanji, peace out. He teleports away from the play 2-0-2 after assassinating the AD carry. His specialist pick getting good value in that fight, but it was a lot closer than NIP would have liked, considering that they were the ones who opted into that. They started trying to chase down Ruler. They committed with Shanji going in with the Ghost. He starts off with the Ghost take, gets straight onto Yagao, and he tries to get himself a big assassination with the flash away from Yagao, and with him blast coning away from the plate. That's part of the damage, not presence damage. He gets 2 flashes out of 2 AD carries. He gets a good value there. But it's not before Missing and Kanavi get their own impact in this fight. That's why it's even. I think that Shanji has a good fight, but the rest of the team doesn't get the damage down in the moments they need to. And they don't damage the carries importantly too. Aki flashes forwards, doesn't get himself that damage. I was a little bit worried about him going towards that brand. It's not his favorite pick. He did play it recently. But honestly, I feel like Aki didn't get the damage he wanted to down.
That is twice today that we've seen an Ezreal E forwards at a low health Cassante and immediately just get battered. Like, we saw it earlier with Kepler going forwards in the previous series. Now we see Ruler do it too. It happens to the very best of them. Cassante is never low on HP. Always remember that.
Yeah, it's been look, folks, when we had this like glorious golden era of Ezreal, when you had all of these Korean Ezreal AD carries, and then you also had like players like Uzi as well around the mix, and some of the real greats of all time, back in like season 5, 6, 7, there was no Cassante in the game. No one could do this back to you folks. It was not the same kind of situation. You were kind of like, if you were in a 1v1 as an Ezreal when you had your passive stacked up, you were very happy to do as much damage as possible. So maybe Roulette, that's a bit of a reality check for him. You're here in the here and now, and I think maybe looking for an engage.
Zhuo just takes a bit of a hit from Roulette. Missing walks away with his life as well. The support's just gonna tag each other up a little bit. But NIP once again vied for control of the river around this Drake that's just spawning. This would be 2 in a row for them as they group up in the brush. That's good damage onto Missing. The brand passive proccing, the shield comes through from Missing, Solar Flare flashed away from, and Missing will survive. Sheer, in the meantime, looking for a flank on the bottom side, but spotted on a ward, halfway on the Rage Bar.
Aki hits a 3-man W, and that gives NIP the setup advantage for the Dragon. Sheer is still going to be here. We'll see whether JDG commit any harder to this. Kanavi could potentially look for a smite fight.
Sheer's getting close to Mega. True Shot Mirage goes in. Kanavi is in the pit looking for the Drake, and NIP have been pushed away. Kanavi is just going to finish the Drake. JDG don't even need to fight if they don't want to at this point. The objective has been secured. Now looking potentially for a re-engager, NIP, as Meganar starting to time out, but JDG, they've backed away. They've got away with things. They got the Drake.
Yeah, I think NIP, the geography just didn't work for them. They're on blue side, they're taking the Dragon, and you have no flash on a brand. There's no way for him to cross that wall of that pit. So as soon as the threat comes in of Sheer with that Meganar, he has to back out. At JDG, though they were poked out in the start of that Dragon, they end up getting themselves towards it all the same. That's now going to set themselves up for a sole point. NIP don't get themselves any kills off of that to force something like a Baron at the other side of that. Getting a little bit worried here for NIP because we're getting towards the point where Kanavi's going to have his flashback. He has that Zhonya's. We've seen a great number of players do pretty disgusting things to the enemy team when they have flash, Zhonya's, and ult on that Lilia. Feels like Kanavi is gearing up for another big team fight.
Doesn't it? I live in a perpetual state of a bit worried for NIP, to be honest, with this split. It's been a bit of a worrying split for them, especially with the talent on the roster. What would you say?
Do you remember that? Do you remember that one billboard in California somewhere? I think there was a billboard that someone hired out. No brand or anything. It just said, "I'm concerned about the blueberries." That's all it said on the billboard. You sat there like, what? What does that mean? I feel like we should just hire out a billboard somewhere. I'm concerned. I'm a little bit worried for NIP.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think we need to pay for a billboard because I'm pretty sure their play speaks for itself with this split so far. I don't know why, but I'm just feeling like I need to roast NIP today, apparently. They have been struggling. They have been really struggling, but they are going even right now with JDG. They're ever so slightly up in gold. Sole point for JDG, though, does mean NIP could be in trouble. True Shot Mirage, just a bit of a whiff from Ruler. See, even the best can do it.
One of the greatest to ever do it. One of the greatest to ever miss it. But he'll get himself, you know, that 3-item spike already. Photic also has a 3-item spike. It's not the AP Kai'Sa that we saw before. I wonder whether that would have been nice to get. You do see a lot of magic resist on the other side, so I guess it means that your damage when you're actually getting into the meat of the fight is better from the Kai'Sa, but if you'd had that W upgrade, maybe you could try and get yourself some important Ws onto Kanavi, onto Sheer, or someone like that, before they look for their big team fight changing ultimates and stuff like that. So Photic will have to see whether he can get himself into that kind of brawly, low-range Kai'Sa kind of status. They start up that Baron. JDG, they're the ones which will be forced to answer.
That's cleanse out from Ruler. TP immediately comes through as Kanavi looks to get into the mix. Zhuo will be chunked and finished off by the Baron in the end. As NIP, we were waiting for a mistake. They just start the Baron and instantly it's answered.
What was Zhuo doing there? There was no follow-up. He goes way too far. He's punished for it. Suddenly JDG going to get control of both mid lane and just everything around the Baron. They're not even going to bother starting towards that one. They push in the mid lane as fast as possible. And NIP, they don't have their engage now. There's no real way to close down the carries. JDG looking to siege.
Ruler's just throwing out so much damage on the Ezreal now. 3 items finished off, and with a Bloodthirster, he's happy to take a tower shot or two because he knows he'll be able to heal it up again. 1 minute and 30 seconds until the Mountain Soul comes up onto the map, and I think if JDG get that one, it might just be over. Ruler just steps forward to contest this by himself. Zhuo tries to punish with the cleanse, and then with the TP and missing moving in, it's just too much.
The Zenith Blade is fine. The Solar Flare is fine. Going forwards up into that brush when your team's not following you, that's not fine. So Zhuo, not great from him. He needs to do better at being able to coordinate with his follow-up. I think NIP, if he doesn't walk up like that, you just take the cleanse from Ruler. That's fine. That's a victory in itself because your big engage from that Leona is on a lower cooldown than that cleanse. Bit of a mistake there from NIP's support. Can't see him. Well, we need to see him not do that again. If that happens again, JDG once again will find that pocket, get some damage onto him, and then he can start controlling the map yet again. So, once again, fighting over mid-prior. We've done most of this game fighting over mid-prior. Dragon now up in 40 seconds, and NIP a little bit quicker to the river, but JDG are happy to go maybe towards top side and force NIP out of that bot side river because they're afraid of Baron going over.
So JDG with a real chance here to find a fight that could turn the game as Ruler gets away from Zhuo. Solar Flare is there, but nobody's available to follow up. Shanji, though, finds the all-out! What a play from the Cassante in the top side. NIP find their moment, and Shanji hand delivers it as Photic wants his moment in the spotlight as well. Finds the kill onto Yagao, and NIP will break this base wide open. Zhuo falls to Sheer as he finds a double kill on the other side, and that should keep JDG in the game.
I think Sheer ends up saving the game, took a bit of a Marin, killing the wave in mid lane to make sure the game doesn't end. But this time the follow-up was there from NIP, and the difference is very, very large. NIP get themselves a couple of crucial kills, and they're going to head towards this Dragon to potentially deny JDG's soul. Sheer is here, and he does have Mega, and he does have Flash.
What can he do, though? 1v3, not exactly a damage carry. Kanavi was moving over, but the Drake goes down. So NIP, they get themselves an objective. Now, JDG, there are some pings towards the Baron area. I don't know if they're confident enough to just start this one off. It's 10 extra seconds on Shanji, and he doesn't have TP available. That's a TP into the play from Yagao. This could well be a Baron attempt from JDG.
Well, Kanavi's taking the Scuttle Crab first to take that one down with the bird. It's going to start going down, but because Kanavi didn't immediately go onto that Baron, it's going to be a little bit slower. Still might be fast enough.
It's gone. 3K. There's the smite. Zhuo going to try and punish missing. Looks to get over the wall with the crash down, and there we go, JDG. It's an absolute heist. They lose their mid-inhib, but they take a Baron through sheer tempo.
Yeah, NIP get themselves a good fight, but JDG get themselves the better response after the resets come through. NIP maybe switch off a little bit after that Dragon, and they give over a free angle. They all reset at the same time, and there's no one left to contest. Back here in the mid lane, Shanji provides the follow-up. Ruler gets dragged back, even though his E goes through. He's dragged back by the all-out, and the damage comes through, so sadly he's kind of just zeroed out of that fight without having to be able to do that much. Sheer does get himself, though, a 1v2 on the backside of this. Gets himself that hop through for the extra attack speed and the damage, and just runs him down as a mini AD carry.
You kind of see in the positioning there that Zhuo is all in. He's there fighting alongside Shanji. Then Shanji dies. He's like, oh no, what have I done? Why am I here? He goes down as well. Sheer in a 1v2. Fantastic little double kill hit for him. Cuts off the wave, keeps his team in the game, and then JDG get themselves a Baron. So despite losing that fight, I think JDG actually kind of came ahead.
By getting the Baron, absolutely, because they have Sheer with a huge advantage. He can start pushing wherever he wants, and I don't think NIP can shut down Sheer if he's pushing alone. He's level 18. Like, he's very, very high level. We're getting towards late game where, of course, multiple people are level 18 now. Rookies just hit that, but for now, Sheer is that level ahead of Shanji. Need to see if Sheer can push in one wave and kind of get that Baron buff some actual value. JDG earned it well. Let's see if they can use it well.
Remember, good amount of poke coming out from JDG's roster as well. And not gone for the AP Kai'Sa here for Photic. So not really going to have the same poke damage that you'd expect from a Kai'Sa. Missing, tanking up, uses that Celestial opposition just to soak a bit of damage. But all things considered, NIP are going to be able to deter the push. Still a minute on the Baron. Reset's going to come on through on the side of JDG, as the Drake will come up in 2 minutes as well.
We are diametrically opposed to our last series. It is complete opposites, as we had bloody high kill per minute games all across the series between LGD and FPX. This one has been much more measured, much more conserved, maybe overly conservative in some ways. JDG though, I actually got interrupted on this point a little bit earlier because there was a fight that so rudely happened. They finally decided to speed things up. If people were watching JDG last year, they were a faster team than this in some ways, but I feel like, and you'll be able to speak, I guess, from this more experience in this, before 2023, when Yagao was last on the roster before that year, this is similar to how they played then, where they were happy to chill until mid-game and then wait for the bigger team fights.
Oh, definitely the case. I mean, back in 2020, I feel like JDG versus Top Esports, we saw that matchup about 1,000 times across 2020.
Yeah.
It was constantly this game of Top Esports trying to win through lane advantages and leverage that into game wins, but almost always it ended up coming down to late game team fights, and JDG very, very comfortable in their macro play historically, and Kanavi and Yagao pretty much the proponents of that. I mean, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, it's a totally different roster aside from those two players. Kanavi and Yagao. I mean, Kanavi sticking around here. He's been here for all that time.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yagao went for a little holiday, returned home again. I think about that.
It's also
teammates from 4 years ago. These guys,
yeah,
like, they're buds, you know. These guys have been through it together. Shared trauma of playing in the LPL for that long, like the amount of grief that you must have gone through, the amount of stress that pro players go through. Can you imagine how close friends Kanavi and Yagao are at this point?
Well, I mean, they've chosen to play with each other again and again. They're going to have to get good value out of this next team fight. We do have, again, the flash on Kanavi. Dragon coming up in 20 would be sold for JDG. This is, if we're looking towards JDG, going back towards that late game team fighting style, this is the time to prove it. Again, you have yourself this Lilia, huge point in power. Sheer potentially looking for a flank as well. Dragon spawning.
Sheer spotted on a ward, but can use that ward to continue stacking Rage. This is perfect for Sheer. He's about to turn Mega just as Drake comes up. JDG are on Soul Point, and Kanavi knows it. Starts the Drake up immediately. Sheer has found Shanji off on this side. He's zoning, and Aki is nowhere near the plate. This is Soul taken. Missing just keeps them away. Sheer now gets an engage onto Shanji. Soul Flare comes down as Zhuo barely survives the play. In goes the Cassante. He's in 1v4 though. I don't know if he's got the damage. Ruler survived on the top side of the play. He does manage to get one because he is a Cassante. At the end of the day, Ruler goes down as well. Photic finding one for himself. Missing now, jumps back onto the other side of the play. The Soul just isn't enough for the side of JDG. Or is it Kanavi? Looks for a little bit more. Flashes into the play, and Sheer is there to sweep up the kills. Aki goes down. Photic burning, missing, stuns him. A boomerang as a quadra kill comes through for Kanavi.
6,700 damage. And even more to give. Kanavi gets the Soul, gets the team fight, and JDG, they were waiting for that late game team fight this team has so historically looked for. It could just be that. It could just be over. 38 minutes in, JDG walking towards the enemy nexus. It'll be at least be an inhibitor. I think it's going to be the game.
Absolutely miraculous fight for JDG. It looked like it was over. I was talking about Ruler's Ezreal. His Ezreal was nothing to do with these fights. It was all Kanavi, all Sheer, all missing. Managing to find their combos, this top side pair from JDG. Phenomenal stuff, as in the late game, it all comes on through, and JDG start the series 1-0.
Another team fight won by a Flash Lilia with the Zhonyas as well. This champion has risen up to priority. The switch around in priorities from your Brands and your Karthuses and the Zyras is switched over to the Lilia now for team fights just like that, and Kanavi piloting just like that too shows you exactly the kind of power you expect out of this jungle champion, and JDG walk away with, I'm not going to say a confident game one, but it's still an effective game one victory, particularly through that jungle.
Let's take a look at our MVP coming out from game number 1 then, who I mean, honestly, I don't really know. It's got to be Kanavi, right? Got the quadra kill
gotta
in the
be
final
Kanavi.
fight. This Lilia, fantastic. So 5-1 and 6 at the end of it all. Him and Sheer, I think Sheer had a reasonable shout for it.
Yes.
Even though Sheer didn't have any big Gnar ultimates. Like, how rarely do you see a Gnar MVP candidate that doesn't get any big team fight ultimates? It's rare to see, but he did a fantastic job across the game.
Absolutely, and the fact that he was such a big point of pressure and being an extra AD carry in the back half of fights when he goes into mini-Gnar was really, really important. But it's just another game where Lilia, with all of her tools available, does incredible things in team fights. And we're seeing more and more priority on this pick because of things like this. And the conversation for best Lilia in LPL is massively open right now. You have Xiaohao, you have Meteor, you have Kanavi in there as well. You Tien, so many players putting their name up on that billboard.
Yeah, plenty of contention. When it comes to these AP jungles, there's a lot of back and forth, and part of that is because we have so many games and so many talented players. It's 1-0 to JDG as we finish the first game in the series, and we'll see if NIP can punch back in game number 2.